Prof Rakubu, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. At the very start of today's proceedings, the members of the committee were trying to establish what work Sullivan was engaged in before moving to South Africa. What were the circumstances that drew him to South Africa and the work he subsequently did here and his suitability to do that work. It emerged very early on that he had worked in military intelligence during his time in the UK, and in South Africa he sort of sought similar sort of work. The members of the committee seem to have tried to draw a link between him being a military intelligence trained operative and him being a potential counter spy to South Africa, and that he was a threat to South Africa. How did you see that dialectic play out, and what did it tell us about his suitability of the work he subsequently did in South Africa?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. A very complex testimony today, very difficult or combative testimony, if I were to say so. The experience, he doesn't hold, although he has shown expertise in what he does as a forensic investigator, but he doesn't hold your conventional qualification as compared to other forensic investigators. That is why then the Parliament could then ask what justified him to come in and then proceed with the work that he proceeded in South Africa. But again, the expertise that he has and the military background justifies questions around the spy allegations, because in the beginning you could hear and pick that he was trying to claim his name of espionage claims, right? Reinforcing his role as an independent investigator. That is why he tried to take the commission around some of the work and institutions in which he then assisted in unearthing corruption and all other forensic investigator-related jobs that he successfully completed. But then it is justifiable to even ask some of the questions around, why did you come to South Africa? Which skill did you possess uniquely to come and decide to then work the work that you worked?
Why is any of this relevant, Prof Rakubu, if what the committee is trying to establish, or if what the committee should at least attempt to establish, is whether or not Paul Sullivan had exercised undue influence over the South African police services and related functionaries, IPED being an example thereof? Why is his background and his early work an important data point for that consideration?
Remember in the beginning, upon the July media briefing by Mkhwanazi, he came out very strong. He pushed back, hardly so. And that now we are in the contradictory stances, because he initially positioned himself as a whistleblower against corruption, but simultaneously resisted full disclosure, or even for him to appear in the ad hoc committee. It took so much pushback, it took so much engagement and so forth. Then one will question interest, one will question background. What are you, in fact, because if now you are implicated in what they say you have been involved in, then obviously credibility of your work and also your expertise as a forensic investigator comes forth. Because remember, he went on to media to even name drop, to even promise certain evidence, but that has never even sufficed to date. We have not seen documentation that substantiates some of the allegations that he made against those that were making statements around corruption and political infiltration in the justice cluster. Then you wonder, what is your experience? Where were you before? Are you a spy? Are you continuing a spy? Are you then in disguise as a spy and then pushing a forensic investigator or independent forensic investigator narrative? So I think they were just trying to figure out, why are you implicated and what are the possibilities of being implicated in this matter? Yeah.
Now, we know that Paul Sullivan's time in South Africa, in his career, he started with him becoming a police reservist in 1989, and then very shortly thereafter was able to obtain citizenship And we know that led to him gaining a job in security at the airports company South Africa, and he ultimately became the head of security at the institution. And that's where his relationship with investigating crime and corruption, he claims, truly began. Is there anything fascinating about that time of his life in South Africa that stands out for you as noteworthy, particularly around where some of these key relationships started building, Jackie Selebi being one of those, the erstwhile police commissioner? Is there anything noteworthy for you that you think begins to paint the picture for us around Paul Sullivan and his infiltration, alleged infiltration of the South African police service and related institutions?
Paul Sullivan is a critical figure when you peruse the history of justice cluster of police or policing in South Africa, or even investigation. He was strategically placed, and he has been implicated here and there prior to what we now dealing with. And I even understand why he maybe not very open or ready to even allow questions around prior 1990, something around that. And again, his relations with critical figure, or the manner in which he was granted permission to even conduct certain investigation, then you wonder, what is it that he had at the time that found him as a suitable candidate to then investigate cases he has investigated? But then the strategical positioning there, I think, played a very huge role to all the debacle that we're discussing today, because he has history with all previous commissioners to date. Then you wonder, what was his interest? And most of the commissioners to date are pushing back, are not even crediting his work. You can talk to Patlani, you can talk to Mkhwanazi, you can talk to other commissioners. Why are they identifying him as a challenge, or as have played a very difficult role in ensuring that corruption or inflation is dealt with? So it's a very complex one.
Prof Rakubu, thank you so much for your time and your insights this evening. Really do appreciate it. Prof Rakubu is a criminologist.